Welcome back, Crew Cats. It is episode 3 of the Crew Corner podcast. My name is Matt.
And I'm AJ.
And we had a great show put together for you today. We were going to talk about our crew all-time 11. We were going to talk about who we think is going to be going out on loan.
We were going to talk about Steady Evie Gavin.
We were going to be talking about all sorts of fun stuff with you. And then Michael Aracey and Massive Report had to take our show idea and throw it out the window.
Mike is pretty good about that. He writes whatever he wants for the Dispatch, which kind of helps in all of our little endeavors and all of our little moments where suddenly he'll say something. He was one of the biggest voices in terms of Save the Crew, and he really kind of is willing to take anybody's quotes as long as they can back them up, which is good.
Whether they are good quotes or not, as we have found out today.
Yeah. He's quoted me a couple of times, which just generally means garbage.
Fair enough. So, for those of you who are Crew fans and have been living under a rock today, so Michael Aracey reported in today's Columbus Dispatch that the Crew is, how's the best way to put this, strongly considering a total rebranding?
Yeah.
Is that a safe way to put it? And we say, like, strongly considering, we're talking a rebrand. We're talking new colors, new logo, new team name even. Like, everything's on the table.
Yeah, but it all depends on sort of who you also get kind of little bit of responses from. Some of the local media people have said that they have sources that are saying that they're not taking away the black and gold from us, that it'll just sort of it'll adjust. So maybe we're getting into a situation where the front office is trying to rebrand us and make us a little bit more modern. They did that in 2013, maybe. And here's my hope. It has been my sincere hope, because I've heard one of the ownership or investor group say that they hate the SC and didn't understand why it was added. My hope is that they switch it to plain old, simple Columbus Crew. No SC, no FC, no nothing.
Sort of like Vancouver Whitecaps.
Right.
I
think Vancouver Whitecaps is actually Vancouver Whitecaps FC, but they have unofficially dropped the FC off of it.
And this is a tweet as of 34 minutes ago from Dr. Pete. The Edwards and Haslam families understand that Columbus bleeds black and gold. So I think you can take a color change off the list.
Right. I think they might be transitioning to a little bit more gray instead of my fear was, and it was actually kind of my thought, that that they were going to switch us to an all-white jersey, but it does not appear that, as we'll talk about in a few minutes after the leak that Massive Report got from it looks like a Mexican jersey bootleg site, because I have no idea. I've never seen that.
We got also todosobrecamisetas.com.
Yeah, that's a lot of Spanish bootleg words.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, the kit that Massive Report has released it's pretty much exactly as I described it in the Crew Corner News review from what they were looking at and what was coming out for the MLS 25 gear. And it's the typical, it's the 3 stripes over the right shoulder.
Which I don't have a gigantic problem with. I thought I would. It's not as bad as I thought.
The only thing that's different is it's kind of got like a bit of that digi gray gradient.
Yeah.
Front. It's got the Crew SC badge on the left pec.
It does not have a logo on it, ladies and gentlemen, which just further fuels the fire that this year we might not have a jersey sponsor. That our jersey sponsor might not start till 2021.
I'm not upset by that. I don't think a lot of people put it's almost like a lot of fans put stock in the jersey sponsor, or at least how the jersey sponsor is presented on the kit, like it's a part of the kit. But to me, it's just like, it's money. It's an advertisement. The only reason it's there is so the club can make money. It's not part of
Right.
It's
And
not,
the club
it's not
doesn't
part
make
of
a
the kit.
gigantic amount of money, but it helps. I think one of the things that has hurt and has kept prices so low, and it was kind of one of the problems that was mentioned during the whole attempt to move the crew. It was mentioned by Andy and by Anthony Precourt that one of the problems that they were having is they were having problems finding jersey sponsors. Well, we're not on national television, with the exception of a couple of games in Canada and Fox South, which is not a national thing, but like whenever we play Atlanta, we're on the Fox South channel, which is kind of like the Big Ten Network is for up here for college football. It is a separate channel, and that's good that we're getting broadcast down in Atlanta and in all of Georgia, all of Alabama, and all of part of northern Florida, but we're not on TV. The only time we're on TV is when we're at Nippert Stadium, which means, again, the only time anybody's going to see or hear the fans or the team is in that situation, which is cool. We blew out the microphones in Cincinnati, and all they could hear was us, singing "Is There a Fire Drill?" as a quarter of the stands emptied when the Crew scored the third goal on Cincinnati. But what's the point in paying? Okay, we'll use FC Cincinnati's rumored jersey sponsor money. Supposedly, they got somewhere in the range of $4 million for their jersey sponsor. Would a reasonable company pay $4 million to never have their product shown? Never. It's different in minor league. Like, I before we started, I showed you a shot of the Providence City FC jersey. They're known for having an awesome jersey. Right now, they've got a hammerhead shark coming out of the bottom of their kit, and it says Revival Brewing Company across the top of it.
Awesome is one way to put it.
They used to have one, and I just showed you it. It's an anchor on the side of their kit.
I would go with eccentric. These are eccentric kits. These are like
It's how you put butts in the seats.
Yeah, these are like you buy these kits and you want to watch this team because, in a way, like they look ridiculous. They look absolutely ridiculous, but I still want one.
Yeah, and there is something to be said about the fashion of it. Like when you see people walking, like I see people walking around the grocery store and they're wearing Paris Saint-Germain kits. It's because the Paris Saint-Germain kit has a Nike Jumpman logo on it. It is sponsored by Michael Jordan's aspect of the Nike brand. You see people walking around in Barcelona's kit because it's Barcelona. It's the red and the blue and the kind of yellowy orange, and it is a very distinctive kit. This potential new Crew kit. Now, we don't know if this is a Mexican bootleg. We don't know what it is. I think it's real. Is different, and not having a logo on it will actually allow you to kind of wear it as a business casual thing. You throw a jacket over it. It just looks like a cool shirt underneath your sports jacket. That can be cool, but traditionally MLS has never really had a kit that looks fashionable. We've never had a cool looking kit. It's why so many people wanted to extend the Save the Crew kit into see it brought into MLS and have the hoop jersey. No, the Crew has never had hoops on any of their jerseys, and I can't think of too many MLS teams that have had even the hoops as a third alternate jersey.
Yeah, I mean, look at you looking at it. Hey, we can wear this as a fashion statement and find this in some other places.
It's easy to walk around on a business casual Friday if you work at Nationwide to have that kit underneath your jacket.
And I think when they talk about rebranding, which is obviously the big story of today, that's more the stuff that I hope that is more the stuff that they're looking at.
I think they might be moving away from the checkerboard. When I really start thinking about like some of the branding aspect of us, I think they might be moving towards solid, like that we no longer look like a construction site. that heading into 2021 we are a complete and finished product. That maybe the idea is we build the new stadium, we are built and we are done. We have done all of the groundwork. We don't need construction workers anymore. We don't need cheap German fake badges. I think the idea is that we are rebranding towards we are a finished product. I think that's the idea.
So I look at it as like if that's really where we're going, like we're no longer a construction crew, we're a wrecking crew now.
That could be.
We're coming to mess stuff up. I mean, look at this fan group. Look at this fan base. The Nordec is not a construction crew. The Nordec is a wrecking crew.
Right.
The Nordec is coming in there to make a statement, be an intimidating force, and really set the tone for the attitude of this fan base. And the crew as an organization, the front office, Bez Pachenko, Dr. Pete, D, Pat Onstead, would be wise to lean into that.
Right.
Because that is what people notice about the club. And more importantly, that's what people like about the club. Even the people who are like, who are in the stands on the opposite end or in the upper deck, they're like, I can't go into the Nordic because, I have children, but it's still awesome. It's still an awesome thing to be in. I would never take a child into it.
We have plenty of children in there. They're wonderful.
I don't automatically recommend that. But anyone...
They sit in the front row and they don't pop smoke because they're not allowed. You have to be 18 to pop smoke. But they have their little bullhorns and their little drums because I gave them a little drum. We have a youth girls supporters group in the Nordeca. It is, and they are supposedly going to be on the next Nordeca scarf for next year, not the one that's coming out this year. But there is a ongoing thing of let's add them permanently. They're called the Crewbies. Or the Hive. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I follow the Hive on Twitter. But yeah, the Nordic is the most interesting part of the crew that isn't the on-field team.
Right. And they are actually keeping control of them. The professionals that work for MLS, that work for the crew, have a reputation now of being able to control us in a way that is different from everywhere else. When we were in Cincinnati, I've heard this from multiple front office people. When we were in Cincinnati, they were afraid. The Cincinnati front office was afraid of the Columbus fans. They were afraid we'd jump the rail, or we'd invade the pitch, or we'd invade. They closed down an entire, like the little section for away fans. They blocked us off with police while the Bailey, which is the Cincinnati's equivalent of the Nordeca, marched in, because that's their big tradition. They march in and they sing, now FCC is black and orange or something. And they do this whole thing with like kneeling and a little dance, and there's drum parts in it. And
were they afraid like you were going to fight them? Or
they were afraid we were going to fight them, to the point where they not in the beginning of that game. If they would have thrown punches, there were 3,000 people in the stands. If somebody threw a punch at me, there are 3,000 people that would have punched back at them. But they had police officers and University of Cincinnati security with the Columbus front office people keeping control of us. Were they necessary? No, because we're not going to do something stupid. We can't invade the pitch from the upper bleachers. That would involve a lot of steps to get down to the pitch. But also, we won. If we'd lost, there would have been grumpy faces and shouting and screaming. Would there have been fights? Probably not, unless a Bailey person decided to get really mouthy. But before and after the game, we were great. There were no problems. We took over 2 bars that are FC Cincinnati bars because there were so many of us. They're now starting to do their planning for the Cincinnati game, which is in August. they're starting to do planning on it now to try to ensure that they don't have the problem with, us taking over all the bars, us taking over every restaurant, every grocery store, every parking lot. Maybe they'll fix the traffic issues. Probably not. That'll actually get a lot easier in 2021 when we get into the stadium, and a lot of us are going to be having to walk several miles. That will also be kind of bad because if you put us at a 7:30 game and have us walking through downtown Cincinnati at 7 or 10 o'clock at night to walk all the way down to Paul Brown Stadium, which is like 3 miles from that stadium to get to our cars, ooh, no. You're not putting us through residential areas at 10 o'clock at night.
No, not after
a win.
Not after hell is real.
No.
So final thought on the jersey kit reveal. I don't know. Is it jersey or kit here? Which one is the bigger one?
It's jersey here.
It's jersey. I still say kit. Like I just assume
it's a Euro thing.
Everyone knows what it is. And I'll admit, I when I first got into the sport, it was following the World Cup, and I'm like, I'm gonna pick a Premier League team and just follow it. And then after that, I fell in love with the Crew all over again. I took like a break from the Crew from like about 2003 to about 2015,
which is reasonable. People need to take breaks from things.
I missed the best part, though.
Yeah, you
did miss the best part.
You were a fan during the U.S. Open Cup win. You missed all 3 supporter shields, which is impressive because it's 2004, 2008, and 2009. Though it should have been 2015 too, but that was a whole different. I blame Kai Kamara for so many things.
But point of procedure on that, I found this wild. I mean, as I'm sure someone saw, this as a minor segue. Dwight Burgess is retiring.
That's insane.
After the entire time.
Yeah.
He's been here the entire time. And I read this off on the last Crew Corner review, but it is so important.
Dwight did a lot of things because he just wasn't part of just Columbus. He also was the coach for Wittenberg soccer team at the same time. He was deeply involved with them for the entire time. So I knew of him when I was living in Springfield.
So Dwight has, throughout his entire career, Dwight has celebrated 310 victories with us.
Yes.
He has drowned his sorrows over 296 defeats with us. He has...
Ooh, that is a lot of defeats.
He has left disappointed with us 158 draws.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, their thorough disappointments...
Like 13 of those are from last year.
Yeah, their thorough disappointments are mild disappointments, but they're all disappointments. He has sat through an MLS Cup, 1 U.S. Open Cup, 3 supporter shields, 2 stadiums, 3 owners, 5 sporting directors, 8 head coaches, 9 if you count Robert Varzija twice, and he has witnessed 260 players put the black and gold on for this club. This man has been through everything. This man can tell you every story. This man is the R2-D2 of the Columbus Crew SC universe. He's just been there for everything and knows everything.
And I really hope, either way, like, I wish him the best. I hope it's not for health, because that was one of the rumors. I really hope it's not for health reasons, because nobody needs to go through that. But I hope he's getting to spend some time away from things, because he went through a lot with all of us. He's had to, temper himself during the Save the Crew movement and put up with a lot of stuff. He's had to put up with an infamously leaky broadcast booth.
The leaky broadcast booth.
When you build a stadium for $26 million, sometimes waterproofing is not. Sometimes it's out of the cost range. And I wish him the best. He's a nice guy. Like, the 2 times I've met him, he's a nice guy. But it's one of those things that we all sort of knew was going to happen. Erica Chris also left at the same time a couple weeks ago. She has been posting more stuff from the U.S. women's team, so I don't know if she has been officially signed by the women's team as part of their marketing department, but she's doing looks like she's doing some social media work for them. She was part of them for the Haiti game the other day. We're in the middle of a transitional period with the Crew. We're, when they say we're rebranding, the rebranding also is not just the jersey colors or any of that stuff. We're in a way kind of taking the next step with the team. Now, some of us will be a little upset because some of us really liked certain aspects and certain people. Do I think like Donna will ever leave the Nordica? Probably not. Donna is the steward for the Nordica. She's a mother, grandmother-y type figure, and willing to crack skulls if we really need to. But, it's one of those things of, the front office people. The last 3 years I've had 3 different ticket reps. I don't know who it's going to be. I think it's right now the same one I've had at the end of the season. But, it's one of those things. We just change. Change is good. Change can be good.
So Morgan tweeted a while back regarding the rebranding. Honestly, I think it's fine to, quote, honestly, I think it's fine to assess your brand and have a conversation about tweaking or updating it. It's probably the responsible thing to do. The critical part is listening to feedback before making any decisions. Here comes the feedback. I hope you were listening. I mean, regardless of what decision is made, we have a pretty decent advocacy group here in good old Cowtown, and that has an okay track record when it comes to fighting back against bad ideas, and I like our chances. So go ahead and tell everyone you know. Hashtag keep the crew. We're definitely going to be it definitely sounds like the name itself is not going to be changed, and according to Dr. Pete, the colors are going to be staying the same as well. So I think you're looking at a name, maybe adding some colors. At a bigger level, though, as you say, they're going through this transitionary period before we move on, is that if the Nordic is something to be leaned into, which I think everybody listening to this thinks it is, then the Nordic needs to be ready to expand its borders and expand its horizons. Because for me, like, it was the Nordic that got me into the fandom. It was like me going to the tailgates, being in there, doing the cheers, hitting the drums, and like not even necessarily taking into account what's going on in the game, just being like, this is awesome! Like, that was the best part, and that was what got me back into it. And if we're going to lean into that, there's going to be a lot of new fans, and there might not be as coherent about the game.
Yeah.
As a lot of us are. It's always weird, like, it's like when a punk rock band finally goes mainstream.
Right.
It's like you're happy for them because they're doing so much better. But if you're someone who's been with them the entire time, you're like, who are all these new people? You're like, we need new people. We've got to bring more people in fandom into the club. And then people are like, hey, we show up. We're new fans. We want to be here. And we're like, who the hell are you?
Yeah, there is a certain level of snootiness that comes in any soccer team, really. Well, any group.
Any fandom, really.
Yeah, any fandom. Whether it's Star Wars or, and we saw that in Star Wars. We saw, all these people that are, why is this Jedi a woman? Why are there Asians in space?
They have their reasons, but just the release of it is that it kind of came, like, why did this come out? Like, ultimately, the story itself was like, hey, we're thinking about making some changes. And then all of the Nordic was like, what?
I think it came out for... There have been ongoing rumors, and depending on how much you really listen to them, there have been rumors about doing little bits of rebranding. It's the, do we really like this logo? I do like the logo. I think it is the one good thing that came out of the pre-court era. And there are a lot of people who like that, but that was actually designed by a local artist, which is cool. And it's supposed to be some sort of combination of the Mexican League and German League kind of styles. Like, it's supposed to look sort of like the type of logo that would be for Cologne or Fortuna or a second division Bundesliga team. but also it sort of looks like, if you kind of tilt your head, it looks like the type of thing that Monterey might try to do, or some other Liga MX team. The thing is, how much do we really like it? And the media guide last year, in the past, the media guides have since like 2013, 2014, have very heavily said that the crew is to be referred to as the Columbus Crew SC, or Columbus Crew SC, or the Crew SC. That you are supposed to include, when you're writing about it, you're supposed to include
The full name.
the full name. Now, most writers get sick of writing,
It's like Chevrolet and Chevy.
right. But, that's why you see writers that will vary it and say the black and gold, or the yellow soccer team, or whatever it is. Last year, they eased the media guide on how to do it, so it's not the crew, because that was always kind of a weird thing. They tried to use the crew when they first got onto Twitter as a hashtag, but the crew is actually, I think, the name of a punk band, or
it's too colloquial.
It's too colloquial, and that's why I've heard multiple people claim that they were the ones that did the Crew 96. So I'm not even going to dive into that mess.
I have no interest in getting to the level of like who came up with the hashtag.
But I think they're easing it so that it's going to be easier for media to cover it, especially if we're trying to get local media to like us more. Michael is the only of the three writers who has been around for a long time. The new Crew beat writer is very young. He came out of OSU last year, worked for the Lantern, did all of the very OSU journalism things. He's also covering the Blue Jackets. Mike Arache has has a column. That's the thing, is he has a column where he can show his own opinion. And his opinion has always been what is best for Columbus, not necessarily what's best for the Crew. Fans loved it when he was doing that during Save the Crew, but you'll have bounce off moments where where he'll support somebody that wrote something inflammatory about the Crew, and you'll have fans that don't necessarily like that, because they feel like every local reporter should be kissing sunshine into the Crew's butt.
Which I would just like to remind everyone is not the case. That is not his job. His job is not to be a shill for the club. His job is to observe what they do and report on what they do, and in his case, in some instances, provide his thoughts on what they do.
Right.
He's not there to kiss their backside, and I think that's something, and we could do a whole different podcast
On how the local media covers the Crew.
on how the local media covers anything, really. But we're finally gonna get onto the field after all of the hijinks off of it today, which threw all of our show out the window.
Yeah.
Crew've got some new players in at training camp, in addition to all the ones they brought in this offseason. The Crew picked up striker Fanendo Adi off of waivers from FC Cincinnati, and they picked him up for dirt cheap.
Yeah, there's a pattern if people really look at it, and the pattern is there free next to the name of the player. It's the litmus test of how do you sign a Caleb Porter player. Is he dirt cheap? Does he speak English? Because Caleb famously doesn't speak any other language, or that's what's always been sort of reported. Everything is very much in English for him. And the third litmus test is, did he play at Akron for me or at Portland for me? And in the case of Darlington Nagbe, he was all of that. He played at Akron. He played at Portland. He was the transfer. Yes, it's going to be a total of over $1 million, which is just absurd to me. I called it a king's ransom for Nagbe, who is admittedly one of the best defensive midfielder, blah, blah, blah. I still think it's too much money because he wanted out of Atlanta. We should have gotten him for cheaper. But anyways, back to Fanendo Adi. Fanendo Adi is a questionable choice.
I think it's a great choice. I think it's a fantastic bit of business.
It's all right from the business end of it. It is a great idea. It is. You just took $2 million out of the pocketbooks of FC Cincinnati, and yeah, we don't have a collective bargaining agreement, so we don't know how much that's really taking. But that's potentially a third of their budget that they're having to pay for Fanendo Adi.
And that just tickles me to bits. Like, we're building a new front line, and FC Cincinnati is paying for it.
Yeah.
Our president would be very jealous of the move that Tim Bezbatchenko just pulled off.
But that's the thing, is Tim Bezbatchenko can pull off all these moves because he wrote the rules. When you write the rules, you get to make decisions as to what loopholes can be. And he's clever enough to have, really taken a look at what we need, what we don't need, and some of the more interesting things that you can do. An example of this, and I've said his name 2 weeks ago on this, and he all of a sudden shows up as kind of a test thing, and the first time local media who are not in San Diego with all of in Chula Vista, they're not in San Diego, they're staying in San Diego. But local media all of a sudden are like, wait, Derek Etienne Jr. scored for the Crew? Derek Etienne Jr. came up in the New York Red Bulls Academy alongside of, name a great Red Bulls player in the last 3-4 years that's not foreign born. He came up in the academy. He came up alongside of the future of the U.S. men's national team before he got sold to Red Bull, ironically.
So, yeah, I mean, you picked up another one. Yeah, Derek Etienne is in on a trial basis. He scored in the preseason opener. Granted, I mean, it's Ventura County Fusion. They're a USL 2 side. It's also your first preseason match, and you're already finding the back of the net. So he's off to a decent start. Fanendo Adi, though, the price tag makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, it's easier
to swallow. But even still, I still think it's a great bit of business because they need someone to push Giassi Zardes. As much as I like Giassi Zardes, we just lost Kobe Bryant this week. Giassi Zardes does not have the level of just drive to success that Kobe Bryant has, which is no disrespect to Giassi Zardes because
I don't think anybody has that.
Most professional athletes don't have that level of dedication to anything, let alone an individual sport.
I mean, Kobe Bryant, they did an interview with him 6 months ago, I think it was, on one of the morning sports radio shows. And somebody asked him, because it was 6 o'clock East Coast time, and it was a West Coast production thing because it was 9 a.m. West Coast interview. And they asked, like, oh, what time did you wake up? He was like, oh, I've been up for about 3 hours. They were like, oh, we didn't wake you up? He was like, no, I've already been to the gym and, shot a hole. I did a full workout. He's still in playing shape. And then all of a sudden he gets taken in helicopter crash.
You can go on YouTube this week and just go through, the Mamba mentality and the mindset videos and how he dedicated himself to the game that he gave everything to. And Giassi Zardes doesn't have that, and most people don't, so most people need someone kind of chomping at the bit behind them to take their spot, to really elevate them to the next level. In a weird way, like Scottie Pippen was that for Michael Jordan. Scottie Pippen was never going to be better than Michael Jordan, but he was always going to be able to challenge Michael Jordan for that top spot. He was never going to be able to beat him, but he was always going to be able to give him a game. And that, to me, is part of what pushed Michael to be better as well. Now, Michael also had that, but again, he had Scottie Pippen pushing him too.
Right.
And the Crew don't have anyone to do that for Giassi Zardes. Miguel Berry is not going to challenge Giassi Zardes for his spot this season. J.J. Williams is not going to challenge Giassi Zardes for his spot this season. Fanendo Adi, with his talent and his skill, he's 29 years old, so he's still in the prime of his career. And Giassi's out on training with the U.S. national team, so Adi's now getting what I would assume would be at least more first-team reps. Maybe not the majority, but at least more than he would have had Zardes been there. And
it'll be interesting to actually see who plays in Thursdays. I think there's a friendly Thursday and a friendly Monday.
Yeah, if Adi starts playing regularly, starting in these preseason games, I think he comes in. I think he comes in as your starting number 9.
There was a friendly last night, and I have no idea what the score was.
It was 1-1 against Vancouver.
Oh, okay.
Santos and I'm trying to think who the other one was. It was Santos was involved in a goal. I can't.
But you should expect, in training, a 1-1 game to occur in preseason if you're playing the Vancouver Whitecaps. The Vancouver Whitecaps are getting ready to really push for the Canadian Cup this year.
Right. So I think having Adi in there is going to push Giassi Zardes to the level where, I won't be mad that we're giving him, $2.5 million this year.
We're not giving him $2.5 million. We're giving, Giassi?
Yeah, Giassi.
Yeah, Giassi, $2.5 million.
Yeah, so I won't be mad that he's making that amount of money. I think
as long as he keeps scoring.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And I think this will elevate his game to keep doing that, because if you don't, you've got someone behind you who has proven he can do that, particularly under the coach that he is now playing under. As soon as Caleb Porter left Portland, Fanendo Adi dropped off the map.
Right. And it'll be really interesting to see how Adi plays under Caleb again, and whether it was just Cincinnati that has destroyed everything, especially because there's a rumor of Bobby Wood coming to Cincinnati. That was a rumor that's being circulated right now by some German newspaper, which would be insane if, to see, okay, we're going to have a real person chomping at the heels of Giassi as the number 1 goal scorer in MLS for a U.S. player. Because it's going to be, there's the whole Chicharito and Vela of the West Coast aspect. Who's really going to be the big team of the East Coast? Most people are saying it's coming down to Columbus and D.C.
Not New York?
No. The New York teams they don't have great... Red Bulls seems to be attempting to use academy players and then keep them for the 3-year duration. And if they don't get sold like Tyler Adams was, they get cut like Derek Etienne did. Which is unfortunate because Derek Etienne is and here's another business aspect of it. There's an underserved population in Central Ohio. In Springfield and Dayton, there is a huge Haitian population. And Columbus also. And Derek Etienne Sr., Derek Etienne Jr.'s father, played for the Haitian national team. Derek Etienne Jr. plays for the national team. Derek Etienne's uncle played for the national team. Derek Etienne Sr. also played for the Richmond Kickers. He played for a bunch of other things. They are a known family of Haitian players and that are centered out of New York and out of Virginia. And you can suddenly start marketing to a Haitian population that has been underserved in sports in the Midwest. Will that help a lot? No, but it won't help on the field, but it'll help a little bit in the checkbooks.
It all comes down to, can he play and score goals for us? If he plays and score goals for us, it'll matter. If he doesn't play and he's not scoring goals for us, then you're not going to see.
And that's the same thing with Fanendo Adi. Fanendo Adi is I don't know the real aspects, and I don't think that's the problem with MLS is I don't think we're going to really know every detail of this deal. Is Cincinnati going to get something off of us if he does something really great? My worry is that he was brought in not just to push Gyasi Zardes, but to push Gyasi Zardes out. I don't want that to happen. The only way I want Gyasi Zardes to leave is on a bigger contract somewhere else.
Well, he signed what, a 5-year deal?
Yes.
So he's in year 2 of that right now. So
You can still cut him for money.
That's true. We can still do that. I mean, it depends if he's and that's again why it's there. If he's living up to that contract,
Right.
then I'm not worried about the $2.5 million that we're paying him. It's when he's missing sitters wide.
But that is his style. He's a fox in a box. He's going to miss a lot of goals because it's a single touch. There are other strikers that have done that over the years. It's the fact that he's done it very visibly in the U.S. national team uniform that has gotten him so much flack. And that Siggy in the Galaxy never really helped him because the Galaxy's MO has been for years to have a big name striker. And you can't have a big name striker and a second tier US born striker at the same time. That's why they put him on the left wing. They put him on left wing back. They tried so many different ways of trying to use Gyasi. The problem is Gyasi's real position is striker. He shouldn't have been playing anything else. And so when you've got Landon Donovan and Zlatan, and he got really lucky to not have to play behind Zlatan. I don't think he would have seen the 18. We got lucky that there was the Ola for Gyasi deal. Like, that was very lucky for us because Ola was then able to go to China, get a bunch of money, and then come back into MLS having had 2 really great seasons and then get paid just absurd amounts of money from DC United.
So you think DC's going to be the biggest challenge this season then?
Well, yeah, they keep poaching Atlanta United players.
This is true too.
They just stole Julian Gressel, like, for dirt, garbage money.
I don't think Gyasi is going anywhere. I really don't. I think unless he's really playing like garbage, I wouldn't say he's looking to push Gyasi out. I would say he is an insurance policy.
Yeah.
If he's playing terrible, but I wouldn't go so far to say that they're looking to move him out of there.
It'll be interesting to see who Caleb puts for the striker for the U.S. Open game, because having Gyasi and Fanendo and JJ and Miguel Berry all eligible for playing for, being U.S. born, who do you use as the striker on a Wednesday game when you're doing 3 games in 7 days?
And yeah, that's when you'll start to see Fanendo Adi really show up. I mean, speaking of who's coming, who do you think is on their way out? Who is maybe not on their way out, but going to be playing elsewhere this season? I mean, we're looking at a lot of people that we brought in. I mean, Sebastian Berhalter just got his contract. Aiden Morris just got his contract. Miguel Berry just got drafted. J.J. Williams is in year 2. I mean, there's no way we keep all these players on this squad.
And that is the unfortunate thing, is that you're going to have some depth in certain positions. I think the most logical thing for us would actually be to loan, and I hope it's overseas, Abu Bakar Keita as center back. We don't need 5 center backs. I think we either send Sebastian or Aiden Morris out on loan somewhere in the USL, somewhere close, maybe Charleston Battery, or in the past we've used Birmingham Steel or Bethlehem Steel, or Birmingham FC, which is where Alex Crognale is right now. And there's we used them a lot. That's where JJ was always last season. It's where we tend to send our players. Maybe the crew wisens up and invests in that team, because their team colors are black and gold as it is, but they kind of lean into the gold instead of the black. And maybe that just becomes our USL 2 side for us permanently, which would be cool, to have a team where we can sort of have players really develop. JJ needs time to develop. Like, I saw a picture of him a couple days ago. He looks like a grown-ass man as opposed to a child, which is what he looked like last year. He looked like a gigantic child because he was, 20 years old. So it's going to be really interesting. I think I want Sebastian to go somewhere that can really, really, really help him and really challenge him. I don't want him sent to an MLS side, though, because unless he's sent to the right side, it might come up with a completely different playing style, and I don't want to see him hurt.
There are 4 strikers on this squad right now. Zardes, Adi, J.J. Williams, and Miguel Berry.
5. Because we also have
5,
Hamilton.
And Hamilton. There's no way 5 of them are going to be on this squad. So who, at most, we're keeping 3. So who, you figure Giassi will be 1, Ade will be the number 2. Who's that? Basically the injury insurance policy.
I think that will be. I want to say that'll be Barry. Nothing to really gauge that on. It's if one of them shows that they can play as a winger as well. Like Jossie has done that in the past. He's been, he's lined up in a starting 11 on the Galaxy as a winger instead of as just a striker. If one of them can, I don't know if Adi can play as a winger. I don't think JJ can come in as a winger. He's too tall. Barry is like 6 foot tall. Maybe he could do it.
Barry's taller. He's like 6'3". He's about the same size as JJ with less weight.
So he would, I think maybe Barry gets loaned out. I think maybe it's JJ and Barry that get loaned out, and that they keep Hamilton and Adi around.
It's definitely going to be one of those two, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, and we've been saying this for a fair amount of the preseason so far. Is, man, this roster looks good.
It does look good.
This roster looks so good. And
our starting 11 looks great. There are some questions as to who starts certain things. Like, we've seen a lot of great shots, like great clips coming out of the marketing department from about Chris Cadden. And
Chris Cadden's going to be so good. He's going to be so good. I know I'm heaping all of this expectation on this 23-year-old Scotsman, but he's going to be so good.
He's going to be so good. The thing that I sort of worry about is, where does that leave Harrison Awful? Where does that leave? Because I am a little sentimental. I'm sentimental for how much Harrison did for the team over the last couple of years. Unfortunately, we're having that come up soon in the defensive midfielders. The same way, like, do we loan out? My thing is, until we can sell him, I think we should loan Will Trapp, and not inside the MLS. There was that whole thing of Vancouver was trying to buy him. That I really hope that doesn't happen.
If Trapp's going anywhere, he will be sold to a team in Europe for somewhere in the $4 to $7 million range.
I think he could go on loan really easily to any of the teams that are in relegation fights right now. West Ham could probably use him right now because they don't really have a good holding midfielder and somebody's going to chime up,
I think the Prem is a bit out of his league, but someone in the Bundesliga.
Well, West Ham's not going to be in the Prem next year. That's not happening. I used to be a gigantic West Ham fan, and they are some sort of garbage right now.
That is entirely possible too, and I think Moyes is back there again. I think I could be wrong on that. I don't pay all that much attention to West Ham,
and Rice is still there. And so, when you've got a child defensive midfielder who is, supposed to be the heart and soul of the club and the next great holding midfielder in the world, and you're like, oh, hey, that ball just went straight by him. That's upsetting. But there's a bunch of teams that are trying to get promoted in the championship or in League Two in Spain. Depending on how good Will's Spanish is, he could go play and keep Mallorca out of relegation in La Liga, which would be fantastic. Mallorca owned by former Crew SC player Kyle Martino. And basketball legend and Vancouver Whitecap owner, whose name I just forgot. He does broadcasts for the championship and NBA, whose name I don't remember. Steve something.
It's not Steve Kerr?
No, it's not Steve Kerr.
It's not Steve Kerr. So, Trap, I mean, what do you think the ultimate fee is for Trap if this goes down?
Inside MLS, I put this up somewhere. Inside MLS, 600,000. In Gam Tam, whatever variation that we're gonna have on that. I think outside of MLS, if it's to a championship team that is in relegation trouble, it's $1.5 million. If it's a championship team that is a holding championship team, like there was the whole thing with Stoke City last year or 2 years ago where they, I guess, offered 1.25 or something. That sounds reasonable. If he gets picked up by a Greek team, they better be, if he gets picked up by some garbage second tier league in some other part of Europe, the fee better be a heck of a lot better.
See, I think it's going to be way more than that. I think we're looking somewhere in the $4 to $7 million range because it's just the team does not have to sell.
Right.
The team does not have to sell Will Trapp. And the general consensus I get from the fans is that we're not inclined to see him go either. So I
don't want to see him going anywhere in MLS.
Yeah, no one's pushing him out the door. So it's got to be the right offer that comes, and they're not going to stand for anything less. They're going to get their price, or they'll just keep him in black and gold for life. Oh no, we got to keep Will Trapp forever.
And that's the mistake that was made when it comes to Zach Steffen. And we heard it directly from the front office that deal was made without any real sense involved in it. That we got $7 to $10 million depending on his performance. The problem is they sent him to a crap Bundesliga 2 team where he's getting beaten up and he's
in Dusseldorf. That's top league Bundesliga.
I thought that was Bundesliga 2.
No, they're top.
But
of the
he's
league.
still getting abused. His stats are suffering because Dusseldorf is garbage. Their defensive backs are absolutely terrible. And he's aggravated a knee injury that he's been fighting for most of his career. The difference is he had a world-class knee surgeon as his team doctor in Columbus.
And boss, for that matter.
And boss for a little while. But, a mistake was made. There was no stipulation of, hey, his performance also, Man City, you can buy him for $10 million, but you're not just going to grab him to hoard him like an angry, hungry dragon. You have to actually make use of him in a good team.
I don't think the Crew. I don't think
was in any position to ask for that. No.
I don't think they were in any position to ask for it. Nor do I think they cared. I think when you get to that level of the game, at some point you really do just kind of have to start looking at players as assets,
right,
and not as people. And yeah, at that point, Bez and company, they were just saying look, he's gonna be sold.
Because that was not even Bez that did that. That was Andy Loctane.
Yeah, sorry. So you're correct. That was Andy Loctane. But yeah, they didn't care. That was a money grab for them. It was a complete money grab for them. And in order for Will to go, I think in order for Will to leave the club on any permanent basis, it's going to take a money grab that big on a much more voluntary basis.
Yeah, the rumor that was floating around last summer was 2.5 to Celtic, which I loved that rumor. not just because like Celtic is the only really good team in the Scottish Premier League, but like that would also give him UEFA Champion Cup time.
Yep.
That would give him huge visibility. Also, Celtic's got a great midfield. Like they're really great for coaching up midfielders.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan Rodgers did a fantastic job with that club before he went to Leicester, and now Leicester is pushing top of the league. Celtic would have been a very good club for him, but again, I think the fee was too small. I think it's going to take a lot to pry him away from the Columbus front office.
Right. Which is, at what point are you punishing, not punishing a player, but hamstringing a player and their future? That is what kind of really the big argument, because Will is going to have, we're going to have, 5 defensive midfielders?
Yeah.
That's insane. Some of these players are not going to get real minutes. And have a trio of Artur, Will, and Nagby that could all play the 8. They can all play sort of the 6. Artur really can't play the 6 the way that some people would make like a real Italian or Dutch 6. He just doesn't have that. I don't think he has the size or the push. He has the speed to do some amazing tackles, and we've seen some. I think he may be the yellow card leader last year. But he's a very physical player, and that's fantastic. The only thing is, who do we put on the bench of those 3? Because you're going to have to put one of those 3 on the bench essentially every game. Do we really rotate them and have, for some of these games where we have 3 games in a week, that'll be helpful. But at the same time, that's not going to let Aiden get anything.
No, I think it'll come down to basically what team are they playing and what do they need out of their midfield that particular game. If you need someone to kind of sit in front of the back 4 and clean up, sweep, get the ball forward,
that's Will.
That's Will.
If you need a regista, that's Darlington Nagby. If you need a destroyer, that's Artur.
Exactly. So it's going to be an interesting lineup selection as we come up here. We're coming up towards the end of the show. We do want to remind everyone that the Nordec General Assembly meeting is this Saturday at 1 p.m. at Endeavor Brew Distillery. They're going to be talking about their plans for this season. AJ brought up a little bit about the FC Cincinnati match, so they'll be going over more of the specifics for the 2020 season. And they'll also be going over ways that you can become part of the Nordec if you're not able to commit that kind of time to it. That's completely understandable. That means you live a normal, well-adjusted human life. And, assistant producer Loki is officially in the house. But yeah, so we just want to remind everyone, come on out to the Nordec General Meeting this Saturday, 1 p.m., February 1st at Endeavor Brew Distillery. We'll be there. I'll be there saying hi, and covering what's coming up for us in Crewland this season. But
I might be there. I don't know.
We are just over a month away from kickoff.
Yep.
We are just over a month away.
Isn't that horrifying? There are teams that don't have head coaches.
That's true. We still don't have a collective bargaining. There's still no CBA.
Yeah, there's no CBA. And CCL starts in 2 weeks for some teams. Not for us. We weren't special. Maybe this year. And that's actually one of the things I want to kind of close with. I have hope for all of the stupid things that occasionally can go on of like, oh, let's rebrand the team because our old logo is ugly. Or do we really want urine yellow jerseys? I'm cool with the banana yellow kit. I'm really okay with it. I actually even kind of liked the periwinkle blue shorts. They seemed like an interesting thing when we had the 4 Columbus jerseys. My wife is desperate for me to find those because that's kind of the color she wants to paint our dining room. But I have a lot of hope for this season. As we've been talking about for the last 3 shows, we have a really great roster this year, and we have a fairly decent coaching thing. We actually just got another coach. yesterday, and I don't remember his name, but
Tim Hanley.
Yeah, he's got a great resume. I think he coached at like Stanford for a little while. He played at like in the Scottish League. He played, he had a 5-year playing career, and then he became a goalkeeper coach. Is he officially a goalkeeper coach, or is he an assistant? I don't know. We'll find out.
We'll find out. It's all sorts of new stuff. It's a big, exciting season. We're 1 month out, so
We're essentially 18 months out from a new stadium.
yeah, this was a weird show. We came in, and we're still going to talk about the Crew All-Time 11. That'll be for our next show as we wrap up the preseason. We got 2 more shows, I think, before.
Somebody make the decision of who's the best 2 center backs, because that's kind of been our argument.
We settled on one.
We settled on one.
We settled on Chad Marshall.
Because they should name the defender of the year after him.
But we don't know who the other center back should be.
I vote Parkhurst. I know. Nobody else does.
I don't have a huge argument with that one. But this has been fun. Thanks for hanging with us. My name is Matt.
And I'm AJ.
And we'll see you in the next video.